cheetah.com. And we have the fabulous Juliet Eve. She's taught everything. She runs Fam Club. She teaches every single day. She's one of the more popular teachers, and I'm just always thrilled to have her. Great person. She's taught some master classes for us. Anyway, so today we're going to be talking about kitty cats, and the kitty cats is those guys, leopards, cheetahs, and what's the difference? And we're gonna be spending a lot of time, and Black Panthers. My God, what aren't we going to cover? And jaguars. Ah. So with that said, I will exit, and we will have Juliet, and she will start describing the difference between these various kitty cats.
Brilliant. Okay, well, hello everyone. Lovely to, well, I can't see you obviously, but nice to be here. Thank you very much, Blake, for having me on board again. That's great fun. I love doing this. It's one of my favorite subjects, obviously. So tonight, or the afternoon, if you're in America, I'm going to be talking about these big cats and the difference, and does it really matter? And okay, maybe it doesn't really matter, but I worked in a zoo for about 15 years, solidly, almost every day working, well, apart from school days. And so these children, they knew the difference between a jaguar, a cheetah, a lion, a snow leopard, all the rest of them. They knew their big cats and ocelots and wildcat, all sorts. So I really got to like painting all the different ones, and I would really research hard and find the difference.
Diane says, "Hi, Juliet, your buddy Diane."
Yay! Hello, Diane. Nice to see you there. That's great. Now, can you put the pictures on highlight for me?
Yeah, I'll turn you off. So your video is off, and it's just the kitty cats. Yeah.
Right. And can you put that on spotlight so it's larger for me, please?
Oh, sure. Spotlight for everyone. It should be.
That's the one. Fantastic. So I thought I'd explain a little bit about these beasts and the difference, and as I say, whether it's important or not. But this is the leopard. And leopards live in Africa. And you've got to get this difference here. Okay, so leopards live in Africa. They are big and strong, very stocky. They've got short legs. They've got very powerful jaws. So they've got these big heads, and they can, carry their prey up into the trees. So that's what they do. They're very strong creatures. And yeah, big heads and large jaws, hence this big muzzle. So when you are painting a muzzle of a leopard, make it big, because that's, really makes them. And they have rosettes. So if you look at the markings here, these are the rosettes. So they're kind of roughly, they're kind of vague circles, but with broken lines, but they do form circles. Now, you will notice that on their head, they don't actually have the rosettes. However, this is where artistic license comes in. So personally, if I'm painting a leopard, I will add rosettes onto its face. Okay, so try and remember that. Leopards are the rosettes. Forget about all those rhymes that you know. The other thing to notice that they have really big whiskers, lovely long whiskers. So try and get those in there as well. And also remember, they do have eyebrows as well. Their noses are pink with black, but don't worry about that too much, particularly at speed. But the other thing I want you to notice, again, it's only a little thing, but because their fur is relatively short, on their muzzles, the whisker spots, as I call them, these dots here, where the whiskers are planted, because the fur is very short.
Can you move that first picture that you're pointing to kind of more into the center of the screen, please, for our friends on Instagram?
Like that?
A little farther. There we go. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, good.
Okay, this is for Instagram, is it? Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. So as I say, what I call the whisker spots, They are round dots and they look round because the fur is so short. Now, when you're painting tigers, their fur is actually quite long. They're quite fluffy. And so you can make those whisker spots into more like little lines. Anyway, that's not what we're on today. So leopards have rosettes. Okay, I've mentioned a clouded leopard. Don't worry about that for now. All right, so leopards live in Africa and they're strong and they take their prey up into the trees so that all the nasty hyenas and things don't get them. Okay, so that's a leopard. By the way, after this, I'm going to show you some I've actually painted. Here we have the cheetah. So cheetahs have, well, they're very different creatures. They are fast, as you all know, they're the fastest creature on land, over short distances anyway. They also live in Africa. And I can turn this sideways now. They're very lean, they're thin, they're quite broad-chested, but they've got long legs. They don't climb trees, they just run. And yeah, smaller heads, and they've got spots. Okay, so cheetah have spots, lovely, beautiful dots all over them. Now, the other very special thing about cheetahs, obviously, is this amazing line from the tear duct all the way down to the corner of the mouth. So take note of that always. It's I think it's the most distinctive thing about the cheetah is that line that comes from the corner of the eye all the way down. And also notice, again, it's a little thing, it's not terribly important, but they hardly have any markings for the whisker spots. So you don't even need to put them in. There's a little bit of a smudge along the outside, or the inside, should I say, of that line. And their whiskers are not very big. They're quite fine, quite small, a bit like a, well, it's more like a dog as opposed to a, like a pussycat. Pussycats have got really big whiskers, but dogs don't. And cheetahs are a bit more like that. So not very many whiskers. So it's not a major part of them. So those are the main things I was. Oh, the other point, which I always add, which distinguishes, I think it really makes it stand out, is they have a little line from the outer corner of the eye, which drags down. And you can just make an effect of that. I'll show you when we paint it, but it is very distinctive and it sort of droops the eye downwards. It's a kind of dot, but I just make a little sort of smudgy line. And you'll also see on their face, look at the marking. There is a bit of a sort of center line here and marks just above the inner corner of the eyes. And it's very much a matter of just random dots. And for me, the good thing about this is you can use your pointy brush because the dots are very random shapes. They don't have to be very precise. So that's the cheetah. Okay, dots on cheetahs, dots and the tear duct line, very distinctive. They've also got a black nose. Okay, so it's leopard and cheetah. Now, jaguars, they're very beautiful and they're probably the strongest big cat. They've got the strongest jaws. They're bigger than leopards, actually. And these live in the Americas. So most of South America, and they actually go up through sort of Mexico and some of the southern part of North America.
And they've got the most beautiful eyes.
Only in the Americas. Okay, and they also have rosettes. So you can see very clearly on the body here, these lovely rosettes. So it's a kind of broken circle. Just think of it as that. And it's very quick to do. I never use stencils when I'm doing big cats because it is so quick to create these shapes. And anyway, they're all delightfully random. But the main thing about the jaguar, which I try and keep in my head, is inside these big rosettes, there's always a few little dots you can see there and there. So they have their rosettes with some dots on the inside of them. It might be two, one, it depends how
Iris.
big they are.
Mhm.
Okay, and also their whisker spots, because they've got shorter fur, and the whisker spots, or where the each whisker is planted, the follicle, if you like, they're round dots again. Also notice the color. They're kind of a lovely golden color. I
Mhm.
think they're slightly darker than leopards. They're more similar, but as I say, so the jaguar has the rosettes with the dots inside. And also they do climb as well, very strong. So that's the jaguar. And then finally, I just thought I'd talk a little bit about the black panther and the snow leopard. Now, black panther, but the jaguars and leopards are from the Panthera, what's the word? Species, if you like. It's the Latin name, Panthera. And black panthers can be either a jaguar or a leopard, and they do have markings on them. I've printed this photo because it actually shows quite clearly, the markings and a bit of the golden effect. And they're called melanistic, which means that, they've got more melanine in the skin, so hence the black. So it's not a true thing. It's a bit of a, I know, it's a bit like sort of albinism as well, albinos, that kind of stuff. And personally, if I'm asked to paint a black panther, I will. People, and the parent says, "Oh, it's horrible! It's all black." I said, "No, no, it doesn't have to be." So what I tend to do is use the gold color on the center of the face, well, all the way out, really, blending into like a metallic black, so a soft gray or uh, what's that word? Anthracite or something. Anyway, sort of grayish color, gray black. And then I put the markings in black on top of it. But sometimes I do a lovely gold center. It's very attractive anyway. And then you have your snow leopard. Snow leopards are mainly found in Asia, I think in the Himalayas and China, places like that. So that's the snow leopard. And they've got very distinctive markings as well. They have this lovely sort of hoop over both eyes. We used to have some at the zoo where I worked, so I used to paint those a lot. But they are very, very fluffy because they live in the cold mountains, so they need all the fur they can get. So there you go. There's
Prophecy
your
Girl says that's awesome.
good, good. Well, I'm glad it's, we don't often talk about this really, but as I say, working at the zoo, I used to. So I thought I'd now show you the paintings that I do, standard practice, at speed, when I'm painting. This is the cheetah. And you can see I've just very random splodgy dots. And you'll see I put a line, I'll paint this in a minute, put a line from the outer corner of the eye. I tend to try and make the muzzle narrow, which makes the whole thing slightly smaller. And not huge whiskers. Never forget the eyebrows. They always have lovely eyebrows as well. And notice this shape here. I put shading. I'll show you later. And then there is a kind of sort of like chevron markings coming down there as well. And on this one, I put ears. I don't always, but try and get them on the outside of the shape of the head rather than sticking on the top. They look a bit daft there, but keep them on the outside, even on a kind of more of a triangular shape. I've made the cheeks quite fluffy here, but it doesn't matter too much. But you can see if you make it a bit more triangular, those top ears at the outer corners. And I've put a bit of random fluff around the edge. I'll show you that in a bit. So that's the cheetah. Dots, remember? And the line from the tear duct all the way down. So that's the cheetah. Then we have the leopard. And what I do with the leopard is do these rosette shapes, sort of random broken circles. I tend to put the bigger ones around the outside. So as I think I said to you, leopards don't actually have these markings on their face. But this is where I use a bit of artistic license, and it makes it a bit different, makes it more fun. So definitely put the rosettes around the outside and then getting smaller as it comes in towards the center. So it brings the eye in towards the middle. You can, I've only done a small muzzle here, but you can take it bigger. But so leopards are big and strong, so you can make the muzzle large if you want. Color doesn't really matter. I do pink and blue and green if you want, but try and give at least 3 colors. I think it makes things look much better. So I might have a yellow or a gold. I'll add some orange or a kind of reddish color or a brown. I like a plum fairy, which is a chameleon color. I'll just show you a few colors. So that's plum fairy. That gives, I just love a bit of depth of color. That's a superstar. That's chameleon. I love using metallics. I won't tonight because they don't look very good on camera, but I tend to use a lot of metallics. Yeah, so, it's fun to go have some fun with. Oh, and the other thing about leopards, if you want, is to add another color in the center of these, which I normally put down first, and then outline with my black. And obviously you can do, crazy colors as well. You can do neons and pinks and anything you want. But really, I'm just trying to show you the difference with the main features, talking about the rosettes on this leopard as opposed to the cheetah. So now let me just show you the jaguar. So the jaguar, again, I've made it slightly darker background. I've given him a nice big wide muzzle, which gives it the strength, because they are really strong creatures. And I've put my rosettes, and I've put a little dot in the center of the rosettes. Okay, so jaguars, rosettes with the dots and big whiskers. Right, so that is the main features. Now I'll paint some so you can see the difference. So let's start with a cheetah. There we are. And cheetah's very pale.
As is that board.
It is. So that's a good cheetah-y color. So I've got here a glycerin-based white. And then I'm going to add a bit of yellow to it. And I think I'll add a bit of that color. What's that? It's a superstar. It's called rust red, just to make it a bit subtle. So as you possibly all know, anyone who's seen me in action before, I tend to use droppers rather than sprays, because you can just put a few drops in where you need, and you don't overdo it.
Right.
That's and I use my fat Tesco sponges. And I'm literally.
Can you zoom out a tad?
Sure. Oh, hang on.
There we go. Perfect. Thank you.
Better?
Yeah.
Okie doke. So loading up. So I put all the white there. And now on this end of the sponge, I'm going to put my yellow. Now, I've put too much water there. I'm just going to tip a little bit out. It's better. So I'm going to put some yellow on this end of the sponge. Okay. And then I'm going to get some of this and put it just on that end. All right, so I just pinch the sponge there gently and just swipe along that edge. So what we're doing a cheetah here. So cheetah, narrow muzzle. So I don't want to make it really big, certainly within the smile lines. So I'm going to put some white here. When you're working on boards, always make sure you go much, much drier than usual. And then the other colors, I've got them all there ready. So I'll start with the darker on the outside, blend it up in. You see how I can just manipulate the sponge.
Mm-hmm.
I know lots of people use split cakes and things. I don't much. I just pick up the different colors that I like, which change
There is
all
no
the time.
shame. There's no shame in either one.
I'm just going to put this color on over the eyes, but I'm going to add black there in a minute. Soften it off there a bit. Put that down there. I was going to do some ears, wasn't I? So what I'll probably do is get, so I'm going to get a tiny bit of brown. Again, just a drop. And I'm going to put the brown there as well. I don't mind mixing it a bit. And then to do ears, remember outer corners if you can. So I sort of literally twist, just twizzle the sponge. And then you've got something like it. It's very quick to make a nice round shape. As I've got the brown here, I quite like it. I think I might just take a bit down there. And a bit on the inside of this one. Trying to just clean her eyes off a bit. There we go. Yeah. Now I'm going to get some black. I'd normally use my a metallic black because it's much gentler. Because you really don't want much. This is actually DFX, but I won't need much. So I'm literally going to put a tiny bit there.
I'm sorry you have
That'll
poor
be too
connection,
much.
Valerie.
So I'm just going to knock it off a bit on the side. And then I like to make the eyelids dark. So I just, again, with that sponge, I just sort of smudge some black over the eyelid just to darken them off a bit. And while I've got the black, I often smudge the black up onto the nose. Might put a little bit of black in the center of the ear. Okay, now I'm going to take my, because some of you may know I've produced my own brushes now. So this is the number 4 Desert Island. And this is my super pointy brush. So I'm just going to go for all the line work now. So I wet the brush. Remember, when you're doing line work, always wet the brush. Do not spray the paint. Always wet the brush so that you've got the consistency all the way through the bristles. Right, so let's go for it. Remember, I like to keep the muzzle quite narrow on a cheetah. So from the corner of the mouth, and I'm not going to make a big loop, I want to come almost straight up and into the corner of the eye. And then again, depending on the child, I would go to the end. And then this is this funny line I was talking about. Just do a little wiggle off the corner of the outer corner of the eye. So this is a case on cheetahs. Their eyes, let me just show you the picture again. They don't kind of lift like a pretty pussycat. Can you see how they kind of droop down? This line here is very, very typical of just cheetahs have this lovely line off the end. So stick it in. Try and remember to put that in. And then again, depending on the child, I love to do an underline. So under here and then out under the eye. Okay, and then again, cat, remember it's under the nose. One. And then down to the lip. Make this as fine as you can. I like to make that a nice curved shape. And that's all you need to do there, because the white covers the top lip. And for artistic sake, sometimes I paint the bottom lip, but you know, that's entirely up to you. So that's the main shape. Now, if I was going to do ears, I would just kind of little, the usual. And then across the top, they funnily enough, they've got a kind of quite fluffy head, strangely. So, you know, just randomly give it a bit of fluff. And again, round the outside. I like to just do random wriggly lines, something like that. I should add, I recommend everyone, do not paint the top lip at all. It looks really weird. So yeah, I'd avoid that. Anyway, so leave that. Right, so now all we're going to do, oh yes, that's what I didn't do. So with my dark, remember I had that dark over the eyes, I also give a line down the center of the forehead, like that. Can you see that? Doesn't show very well on my screen.
Yeah, it shows okay.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Okay, so it just adds a bit of something. You can add another bit, maybe a bit there and a bit there, but things like that, just give it a bit more life. And then you can do a very, very random, you know, some dots coming down like that. That's all. And then they kind of have these little chevrons. So if you want to go for a bit of realism, you can. But it's so quick, so why not? And then just add, you know, I've got a very pointy brush. So when you do your dots, they can be any shape like that. It just doesn't matter. Remember? Cheetahs have spots. And then a few here. And that's how quick it is. And that's really all it needs to be. Because they don't have many, but that's enough. So it's very quick to put those spots on. Now, just for fun, I do quite like doing the bottom lip, which I often do in red or in gold, or you know, you could do black. Actually, I'm going to do this color, I think. So just the bottom lip. Lots of people don't do lips, so that's fine. You don't have to. And then whiskers. Right, whiskers. The trick is, again, some of you may have seen this before, but I use my dagger. And again, this is from the Juliet Eve collection. This is 1/4-inch dagger. And
Sil
I
Castro
really
says, yes, we see it. Thank you for such a wonderful class.
Oh, my pleasure. Oh, yes, because I did the line work class. I know some of you saw that. So filling this brush, always make sure you fill it pressing the side of the brush to keep the bristles flat. So there's my dagger. And as I said, cheetahs don't have little whisker spots. At least you can hardly see them. So, that's something else you can just leave out for speed. And then we can just add our whiskers. Again, cheetahs don't have super long whiskers, but just using the tip of the bristles is really quick. And a few little eyebrows. Make sure they're all different lengths, makes it more fun. There we go. And there he is, there's your cheetah. Add a bit of glitter if you want. Although I'm getting more and more anti-glitter. It's just another plastic, which we don't need.
Well, there is
So there you are, there's
biodegradable
cheetah.
glitter. But yes.
Well,
but
even
yeah,
then.
Okay. Even then.
Just get out the habit of using it. So there you are, there's a cheetah. And now I'm going to do a leopard. Right, leopard. So we can go with slightly stronger colours because they're quite browny. And again, I love these soft sponges. Oh, 2 minutes. 10 seconds.
And speaking of which, we've got about 27 minutes left.
Yeah.
And Yvonne Farben-Zauber says beautiful.
Okay. Good.
Guys,
it's nice.
A lot of comments today. I don't know.
Oh, come on, give me some comments, guys.
They're there. I can tell they're out there. They're paying attention. I can feel it. I can feel it.
Right. Okay, so no, I don't want that white. I want this white. So we're going to do a leopard now. So I'll have some white, some yellow, and I think some brown. That'll do. So again, as before, a few drops. I could maybe rope in a bit of orange. No, I think we're going to stick with that. So one end of the sponge, put my white.
Really cute cheetah, says Cayman Joe.
Thank you.
We got one comment. That's sweet.
Right, so there's some white on one end. We'll get some yellow on the other end. And I'm going to put some brown just on this area of the sponge so that I've got a chance of combining them all. So muzzle. So this is a leopard we're doing now. Let's put some white there and blend it out. Now on if I was painting boys, by the way, tickly boys, then I would not start here. I would always start around the outside of the face. I think that's quite an important thing to remember. Particularly if you think they're tickly or they're young, then always start where it doesn't tickle much. So on the forehead, maybe on the side of the face, and then see how they go. And then you can build up and do the eyes and things. But just for the sake of today and on the board, that's what I'm doing. So they don't have a lot of white on them, but certainly around the muzzle.
Frida from Shreveport says, why glycerin white instead of a regular white, like a wax base?
Oh, right. That's good question. Good question. Okay, so glycerin whites like Superstar, Paradise, Kryolan, Snazaroo, Grimace. Those are all glycerin based. Oh, and GTX now. And it's much softer on the face. It's not so, when it dries, it isn't so hard. And it's also much easier to blend. They're very, very soft, much easier to blend. So the wax-based paints like I know, Wolf and DFX and Tag and Craze and ooh, PXP,
There's
Facepaints
so many.
Australia, Fusion Global, etc. So they are all wax based. So they've got more wax in them, paraffin wax. It used to be beeswax, it's now paraffin wax.
Hmm.
And they're fine for line work. But when you're doing bases, I try to always use glycerin based.
Hmm. Interesting. Can
Much
you zoom out
swifter, easier.
just a tad?
Say again?
Can you zoom out a tad?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, no, I've zoomed in. Sorry. Other way.
There you go. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Hmm.
Right. Now, if you can, and you probably can't, but it's lovely to have some, if you're doing an adult, then I try and put a bit of white under the eyes. But I wouldn't bother with a child. But if you're doing an adult, it's great if you can. Okay. And then off we go. And we'll, of course, I've been talking so much now, it's all dried off. Okay. So I've got a bit of yellow and a bit of brown on here. Spread it around a bit. Sometimes I just blend it in different places. All pretty random. Don't worry too much because it's not going to show a lot because everyone's, your eyes will be drawn to the line work most of all. I'm trying to vaguely put the dark on the outside of the face and the light towards the center. Okay, what I'm doing here is more sort of realism, if you like. And you don't have to. You can make it as fantasy as you like. But if I show you kind of what a real one looks like, then you can change it. It's like being Picasso, isn't it? He knew how to paint superbly.
Picasso wasn't a half bad painter.
Well, exactly. But then what he did was so weird that you would think this guy, oh, my 5-year-old could do that. But actually, no, he knew how to paint perfectly as well, of course.
Yeah, he was a
So I'm
classically
just
trained
loading up
artist.
the print. Yes. So I just
Strangely enough, thought he was a
correction.
failure.
Who did?
Picasso.
Who thought he was a failure? He did.
Yep.
Oh, well, there you go. Most artists think they're failures, don't they?
Yeah. It is true.
Okay, so I actually want to get a bit more dark on the nose. I like it a bit darker down there. To broaden the nose, they've got very broad noses. It sort of matches up with the width of the muzzle there as well. So that's what I try and get that curve around there. Okay. Right, so what we're doing, leopard. Yes, leopard. So this is where I go, remember, a bit of artistic license, and we will put the rosettes in. Now they do have a pink nose, but hey, let's not worry about that. But try and make the nose a bit broader than the human's nose. So I can't see where exactly the human's nose.
Cass asked, do you cut your sponges because it makes painting easier, or is it to save space or money?
I could not paint with one of these whole. It would be much, much too big.
Right.
See, that would be a whole circle. Let me just show you. So yes, I do cut them. Some people cut them into 6s, but I cut them into 4s because I can, when I'm painting, I can add a color here and there and there, and then I put a color here and there sometimes, and so I can literally fill the whole sponge with color. So it's, yeah, I find it the easiest way to operate. Yeah, and I'm afraid there are Tesco sponges in the UK, Tesco's or Sainsbury's, but Chloe Vanderpool, she tried to find them in the States, she could not find them. So you ought to import them. All right, Blake?
Yep. Okay. Although Tesco's,
Tesco.
it's just a little out of my range. If I call up Tesco and say, "Hey, listen, guys, I got facepaint.com. What I want is your sponges," I'm not sure they'd sell them to me.
Oh, well, give it a go. Sure, you'll find something somewhat similar elsewhere in the world.
I think I've even
Naming no
asked for
names.
this actually because
Yeah.
of this. We had this conversation before.
Yeah, I think we did, didn't we?
Yep.
So remember with cats, the lines underneath, don't put it over the top. And then we'll get a nice thin line down here and and then curve that line. There's no straight corners on creatures. And then a nice broad muzzle. Always heading up to pointing to the focal point. And remember I was saying well, no, I'll carry on. Eyes, I like to make, really beautiful feline eyes here. So fine line there. If you can on the child, do the eyelid, but you probably can't. So take it up higher and just do that. So it's that lovely lift to the eye, makes it look so elegant. And again, if you can, do under the eye, but you often can't on children. So all you can sometimes do is take it down to there. And if you just finish on a beautiful thin point, then the viewer's eye will actually fill in the rest. Okay, so you don't need to go all the way to the end. As long as it's pointing in the right direction, that's fine. Right, we're on leopard, aren't we? I often get part way through and I say, well, sorry, was it a leopard or a jaguar? Ocelot. So off we go. Right.
Yeah, I like the teardrop sponge better. I feel like I have more control, says Yvonne.
Yeah, but these are much softer. And the teardrop it's got sharp edges. And this, when you squeeze it, is round. So if I squeeze it this way, that I've got a perfectly round area with no sharp edges. Because I can literally pull it that way and it's just soft and round. There's no hard edges. That's why I like it. So, I mean, I do have some teardrop sponges, but I don't often use them because I like to manipulate the sponge to get exactly the shape I want. Anyway, each to their own. That's fine. Don't you worry about a thing. Just do what's comfy for you. Okay, so we're going to put some leopard rosettes on now. So I literally some vague circles and larger ones around the outside, getting smaller as you come in towards the center. So these can be very vague. You don't have to be perfect with them. One's a bit too weird. And maybe around the outside here and some around here. So very quick. As I say, I never use a stencil because I like the randomness. And then these ones will be a bit smaller as you come in. Oops, did a bit of jaguar there. And then smaller still. Until you finish up doing just dots, basically. Sometimes they have a bit of a pattern here. Because it's a bit like humans and fingerprints, that the markings are different on every single leopard, jaguar, and so on. And you can kind of do little kind of dots in lines. Sometimes they have those as well. So can you see these are almost a bit like tiger stripes heading out from like that. Sometimes you get those. You can see I'm just pretty randomly putting them on. Okay, now I was saying that Leopards have short fur. So when you do the whisker spots, make them into actual dots.
Mhm.
And always make them curved. By making them curved, you really create the curvature of the muzzle. There we go. I didn't do ears on this one. You could do if you wanted, but I didn't today. So now we just need some whiskers. How are we doing? 17. Okay. After this, I could either do a jaguar or I could do a snow leopard. What would you rather, guys?
Okay. Whoever says it first wins. Jaguar or snow leopard. Mm.
There we go, whiskers. And don't forget the eyebrows.
Snow leopard.
Good.
Yeah, I want to see a snow leopard too, truthfully.
Wonderful. Right. So there we are. There is my leopard. Okay. We've got 10 minutes. Let's do, we'll do it on this board.
Yep, perfect.
All right.
Oh, somebody else
So,
wanted. We
snow
got
leopard.
2 snow leopards, 1 jaguar. But we're going with snow leopard.
Great. I just need to find my silver. Oh, there it is. Now, I do love doing this in metallics, so I hope it's okay today. Not, you know, from the filming point of view, but I tend to use a metallic white, which I'm not. That's a flat white. That's a glycerin white. And a gold. I love this. This is actually Superstar Gold. It's a particularly nice one. And that's actually Superstar Silver as well. Maron Paradise, beautiful silver as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm going to use because snow leopards are kind of, they've got leopard color in them, hence the gold, but they're also kind of white and grayish as well. But the gold warms it up a bit. It's really nice. And they've got some lovely markings. So let's start with a, and as I said, I usually use a metallic white for this, but yeah, it's too shiny for filming. So let's get this on. And I'm going to, a few drops in the silver, a few more actually. And then, so white at that end of the sponge, I'll put silver at this end.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go. White muzzle, grey out there. It's a bit too wet. Just takes too long to dry on the boards if I do it too wet. And we'll have a grey nose there. We'll have white above the eyes and above that eye, and then blend around there. So yeah, the other thing about these big sponges, you can really cover the face super fast. That's why I like them as well. White muzzle. Now, then I'll get the, see, I can just literally chisel the sponge and I'm going to put the gold at that end to warm him up a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So this I'll put on the cheeks and just give it a bit more character. So we'll have some gold there and there, maybe across the nose a bit and a bit up there, a bit up there. And that's how quickly I do the bases. Okay, and now, as I say, snow leopards do have some rather special markings, which I try to put in. There is a kind of this upside down U shape here and here that they have very distinctly, and these lovely markings coming down here, slightly bigger markings on the outside. They're lovely to do. Again, I'm using my Desert Island number 4. And I tend to give them, Sometimes I even put some blue over the eyelid because they do have blue eyes. And sometimes I even put a bit of pink on the nose. But let's go. So again, I try and make them lovely, elegant eyes. Again, bring them down under if you can. Some children can manage it, some can't. I nearly always do maybe a gold lip or something on this as well. And then it's this kind of marking in the middle there. Again, you don't have to make it very precise. It's just very rough, splodgy strokes to go with the fur. And then I just put slightly bigger ones. Again, they don't have to be perfect shapes. The randomness gives it, I don't know, sort of more realism, I find, sort of a bit more organic.
Mm-hmm.
But bigger on the outside, I think, is more attractive. Getting smaller as you come into the center.
Brushes and bling says it's like an arch dots over the eye.
Yes, thank you. That's the word, arch. Upside down U. Yeah, arch. Much simpler. Well done. I do lose words when I'm painting. It's very odd.
Yeah.
I suppose not odd. And again, because they're quite furry, I tend to do the whisker spots as more like little lines. Just on the side of the brush. And I do like a little bit of silver glitter on this. Okay. Oh.
Sinner.
Yeah.
Oh, and you sounded so strong before. You sounded so
I did. I was
strong.
doing well, wasn't I?
Yeah, that's great.
Whiskers.
Schmink Lab says, "Good evening. My name is Claire from the Netherlands. I see you're using the round side of your brush. I always use the flat side as I was taught that way. Is there any specific reason that you use that?"
The side of my brush.
Yeah, I think sponge side of this brush sponge.
Oh, sponge.
Use round instead of flat is what I think what she was trying to get at.
Oh, yes, definitely. Definitely, definitely. Because if you squeeze it, you've got a round surface that way and that way.
Uh-huh.
And so if I make a mark, there's no hard line around the outside.
Right.
But if I use the flat area, you've got this hard line. It's difficult to curve it. But on the curved side, it's all curvy, so I can literally do that. And I've made a round shape rather than if it was on the sharp edge, it would actually have hard lines all the way around it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And I use a dagger and not a liner because this lasts, you can do hundreds of lines with this brush.
Mm-hmm.
Hundreds of very thin lines.
Oh,
there we go.
Valerie, you've got a question.
Oh, question. Good.
Okay, Valerie, I'll let you talk. Valerie, what's the question? No.
My daggers are my favorite brushes.
Okay.
I know, aren't they wonderful?
I
They're just-
absolutely, I mean, I've got so many different sizes in my kit and they're just so versatile for everything.
Exactly. You can do so
Okay.
much with them.
Well, thank you for that comment.
That's all.
Okay.
Right, there we go. There's my oh, I was going to give him a gold
That's
lip,
beautiful.
wasn't I?
That is beautiful.
I do like my snow leopards. There we go. Gold lip and blue eyes. There we go. Right, any other
Awesome.
questions? How about that for timing, Blake?
I think you're doing great. That was 3 minutes early, which is fantastic.
I know.
So thank you everybody for coming. Thank you, Juliet, for doing this. It is always a pleasure to have you. You're a great artist and a fantastic teacher. So we're lucky to have you. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope that was a fun and productive time. We are having a couple master classes coming up. We're going to do Amazing Animals on March 13th, Mythical Blessing. Valerie Vella is going to do a master class on March 28th. And in terms of our free classes, we're going to be doing St. Patrick's Day designs with Kelly Burris. Wow, I cannot talk today. On March 10th. And then March 17th, we're going back to the cats, but we're going to do basic cats with Racia. And then we're going to do spring designs, and that's on March 17th at 2:30 p.m. And then we're going to have spring designs with Jacqueline Howe on March 31st at 4:30. So thank you very much. Have a great day, everybody. I appreciate your time, and have a great evening. Bye-bye.